Historic renovation case study by Luke Rohr. Contractor's case argument. The architect and owner never requested proof that they performed any project similar to this one. He can say that he was never asked for any proof completing similar projects in San Francisco. The contractor invoiced every 2 weeks and was paid promptly for the work that he did and was never questioned of the quality of his workmanship. If there was a problem with his workmanship, it should have been in writing. The architect never questioned the quality of the workmanship. He was never given any specifications or drawings, and it was all up to his own interpretation of what the owner and the architect wanted. The architect provided a one-page list that may need to be performed for the project. Many of the terms used in the one-page list were if needed, as necessary, and if requested by the owner, which he was never given any direction in writing. There is nothing in these facts that inform us what is in his contract, and that is a problem. We do not know all the facts in this contract. The list is very vague. There was a handwritten budget agreed with items on what they wanted to do. There was a $600,000 agreement, but was never signed off on, nor it was dated and not attached to the contract. The owner and architect never required any general conditions or even a project schedule. He was being paid less than what was specified in his contract. There was no real understanding of his overhead profit, reimbursables, or costs specified in the contract. Therefore, he was billing whatever he felt these were and was never questioned. The owner never got an attorney to help with the contract. There this vague contract stands. Without specific verbiage of what overhead profit, reimbursable, and costs are in the contract, the contractor was left on his own discretion. The contract required the general contractor to bid out subcontract work, but subcontract is not defined. The contractor began the work with the owner and architect knowing that there were no drawing specifications and no building permits were obtained, and just small portions of field inspections were performed, leaving the contractor to believe that there are no problems with the work that was being performed. Leaving the contractor was only given 8.5 by 11 hand-drawn sketches without reference numbers or issue dates. There was no record of any documents directing the contractor of any there was no record of any documents that directed the contractor of any director of any construction changes, mainly a CCD. The contractor did forward photographs of actual site conditions and the construction progress to the owner and architect. He never continued to add the owner unfortunately continued to add unreasonable scope of work to the construction, such as an underground wine cellar, a swimming pool, substantial floor construction such as plan changes. The owner also added existing plumbing, electrical, and insulation that was determined inadequate and required replacement. The owner also required significant foundation and roof structure damage repair. There are many unknown conditions that were also discovered, such as bedrock under the foundation, failing concrete foundation, which required a 4-story house to be jacked up. The sanitary pipes were completely plugged, which left the craftsman infected with Gallardia. The doctor claims the general contractor was required to receive a lump sum contractor bid quotes, and this, of course, did not happen since they were being paid time and material, and the owner never questioned it until this lawsuit. The owner dictated to the contractor who he was to use as subcontractors, even firing the subcontractor without going through the general contractor. The owner also communicated directly with the subcontractor on the changes of scope without documenting any changes to the general contractor. There were only few requests for change orders asked for or executed by any of the three parties in the 2-year time frame the GC was engaged. As stated above, the general contractor was paid every 2 weeks promptly. The general contractor was then dismissed after 2 years of employment. Many of the interior finish lists were not even started by the contractor because all the extras and unforeseens. The contractor did not receive his last $60,000 invoice. Therefore, the general contractor puts a lien on his contract. Because of all of the above changes in the scope and without specified change directive or change orders, the contractor was not given the service from the owner or architect to properly do his job. The owner continually changed the scope, which did not allow the general contractor to perform many of the items on the original list. We feel that the general contractor was taken advantage of because he was a small contractor that did not have the business knowledge required to handle these many changes that are now being required by the owner. The owner was at best negligent at providing drawings that would clearly define the scope that was being required. The contractor really had full control of his subcontractors. I'm sorry, the contractor never really did have full of his subcontractors because the owner was always directing the subcontractors directly, causing more problems for the general contractor. We feel that in light of the unclear direction and clarity, the general contractor is due his last payment of $60,000. Doctor's case argument. The owner faithfully hired a licensed architect who reported to have this type of restoration experience. The owner, who has no construction experience, relied on the architect and her recommendations to engage a general contractor. The owner, being naive in construction and without the architect's help, hired a general contractor who stated that he had experience and trusted that he did without any documented resume or brochure. Although the owner should have gotten an attorney to oversee the contract between the general contractor and the architect, we feel that the architect should have provided specifications and drawings. The specifications and drawings that should have been produced should have clarified the scope of work, the schedule, and the pay structure along with the normal upfront specifications. Without a binding specific contract with the architect and without drawings and specifications, the architect was very vague in his discretion, such as if needed, as necessary and requested by the owner. The architect only provided a one-page list that may need to be performed during the restoration project. The owner was relying on both the general contractor and the architect to provide all the necessary specific scope, budgets, and schedule for the project. We feel that the owner was taken advantage of and felt that he needed to involve himself in directing the general contractor and or subcontractors to work that needed to be done without the architect's help. The owner claims that the general contractor was contractually required to obtain lump sum subcontract bid quotes. Because of the lack of direction of the architect was replaced and the general contractor was replaced because of the lack of production. The contractors claimed to have done similar projects and no business skills, and never documented any of the work that was to be performed. Therefore, the owner claims that the general contractor should have not been awarded the $60,000 because the owner having to perform a lot of direction to the general contractor and his subcontractors. What would your judgment or decision be? We the panel feel that the general contractor should be awarded the $60,000 because of the agreement that the contractor was to be paid on a time and material basis plus percentages. At no time did the general contractor abandon the project, but was fired without written cause. Arbitration in this case is best because both sides are guilty of negligence in requiring binding specifications and drawings and legal help. The court of law position. This court finds that the judgment of the arbitration should be upheld because of the arbitration stated the contractor performed the work without any written documentation that the workmanship schedule or payments were in question. Therefore, we want to award the general contractor his $60,000 final payment. A trial court is better because the judge knows the legal proceedings and has the legal knowledge to judge legality of the situation. I believe that it could be wise to go on a non-binding arbitration first to bring out all of its complaints from both sides, and then go to a court of law knowing both sides.